talking about how to deal with large amounts of debt. For some people, their pile of debt can feel so huge that paying it off just feels like fiction. It feels impossible. It feels overwhelming. Well, today I've invited someone on the show who felt the exact same way. But then she took action and won the battle against her debt. Allison Baggerly is our guest today. She and her husband partnered together to pay off $111,000 of debt in 4.5 years. And she's going to share with us today how she did it. Allison is the master budgeter behind Inspired Budget, a website dedicated to helping people all over the world get started with budgeting when they feel lost or overwhelmed. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here, Andy.
Excellent. So, Allison, where did this $111,000 of debt come from?
So it was a mixture of mostly student loans and car loans. My husband and I totaled up our debt. We had actually paid off some credit cards before we totaled it up. So it's actually more than $111,000, but that's kind of like the number that we fall on for that. So yeah, it was those student loans. They killed us.
Oh, yeah. So car loans, student loans, things like that. Okay. So what kind of, you hear that number, $111,000 in 4.5 years, you think, okay, wow, these guys must be killing it, bringing in a ton of money to do this. What kind of line of work are you guys in?
Yeah, I wish we were killing it and bringing in a ton of money, but that's not the case. We're both teachers. I'm a 5th grade math teacher and my husband is a band director. So we're 2 public school teachers in Texas, which I think, is really relatable because we don't make a fortune. We're not making $200,000 a year or anywhere near that. And that's just always been what we've known. That income.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's go through this because this is an inspiring story that will hopefully help some people in a similar situation. So at what point did you say, okay, we got a boatload of debt. I've had enough of this. We got to get rid of this. And what caused you to take that action? What was that moment?
Yeah, so I wish that I could say that, we sat down and we journaled and we went on this self-reflective journey where we decided to better ourselves. But that would be a lie. That's not what happened. Instead, we actually got pregnant on our honeymoon unexpectedly, came home, realized that we were pregnant, and we said, oh, snap, how on earth do we do this? How do we grow up, become adults, and actually pay for daycare? And we sat down and realized that daycare was going to cost us anywhere between $700 and $800 a month. And we didn't have $700 or $800 a month on 2 teacher salaries left over. It just wasn't there. And that's when we realized we have to bring another human into this world and be responsible. And at that moment is when I said, okay, something's got to change. We need to do whatever it takes to make this change. And that's where it just kind of started and it grew from there.
That's incredible. Okay. So you made the change. You said, all right, we're going to bring a human into this world. We gotta strap down here a little bit. So what was the first step that you guys took to start eliminating this debt?
So, well, first we figured out exactly how much we had. We had never even totaled it up. It was almost like it was separated. We had just gotten married. And so I don't even think I knew how much debt I had. And I don't think he knew how much he had. And then we had never added it up together. So that was our first step. And it was very eye-opening and awakening. And I remember thinking, is this normal? Is it normal? And I was like, is it? Because people don't talk about it, especially 7-8 years ago, it wasn't talked about. And so first step was just totaling it up. And then it was tracking our expenses and trying to write a budget for the very first time.
Excellent.
Which did not go over well.
So you started to talk about the combination of the debt. So whose debt was whose, and how did those conversations go when you guys got married, where you're like, okay, this is mine now? How did that all go?
Well, I mean, I think that, can I be honest?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. There were really no conversations before we got married, which, which I wish had been different. However, when we first totaled it up, it was so many different student loans, so many of them, that I don't think we saw it as his debt versus my debt. At the end of our debt payoff, it was a lot of his student loans because those were the largest amounts. But by that time, we had been on this journey for so long that it wasn't ever looked at as like, oh, this is your student loans that we're paying off. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it kind of just, we lumped it all together, tackled it all together, and tried to have from the very beginning this mindset of like, this is ours, because both of us are, bringing in all of this baggage into the marriage in terms of debt.
That's a great way to do it. I love it. So what were the actions? You guys had to, spend less or increase the income. What went first? Did you guys reduce your expenses?
Right. So first we reduced our expenses. It really helped that I was extremely sick from being pregnant. So like I didn't want to go out. We didn't go out. Our lifestyle completely shifted. Just our priorities changed. And so we were spending less money on going out and doing, I guess you could say, fun things and more time at home. We actually, at the very beginning, we took a huge pay cut. And I don't think I've ever actually told anyone this, is that right before we got pregnant and married, we actually moved to a smaller school district and we took about a $20,000 pay cut.
Wow.
So that was a big shock because
This was like, after you guys said, hey, we're paying off this debt.
Well, so before we got married, I've never told anyone this. Before we got married, we moved school districts and we took to a smaller school district and we took about a $20,000 combined pay cut. And then we got married and then we found out we were pregnant. And I was like, we made a mistake. Like, what did we decide to do? How are we going to do this when we make so much less? But by that time, we were committed to staying where we were. And it was all about budgeting and spending less than what we made. You had asked, did we increase our income? We did at a time in the middle of our debt journey, but we also did small things to help increase our income and bring in some extra money throughout our journey.
Can you share some of those things that you did to reduce the expenses, and then we'll talk about the income side. So what were some of the things you guys did to buckle down?
So we have this thing called a kitchen that we never used. And so, first off, it was all about, for us, it was food. It was those variable expenses.
Yeah. So the entertainment and the food, it sounds like.
And the food, the entertainment, the food. We cut gym memberships. In fact, we actually had a gym membership that we were paying for over a year that we didn't actually know we still had. It was coming. I mean, it's so sad to think about it now and silly, but we were being charged $60 a month for a membership that we weren't using, nor did we know we had. It was just coming out and we were just unaware. It was just that complete just lack of being aware of your finances. So we cut out a lot of our eating out. We still went out to eat every now and then. We started cooking meals at home. We stopped shopping frivolously. I had to learn to battle a completely unhealthy relationship I had with Target. And we were very mindful of what we were spending our money on, and we were weighing it against the pros and the cons of, saving money to have a baby and then making sure we had that $800 extra cash flow in our budget. So that way, when the baby came, we said, okay, well, that's for daycare.
So that was the big goal right away. Like, how do we make this $800 payment each month in order for us to do this? So you mentioned something really important there. Obviously, some of these things don't sound like a lot of fun, like going out less or, not eating out as much. But one of the important things you said there is just like, you just analyzed what you were spending and you found money that was being, essentially wasted. Like, people can do this. If you look at your budget and analyze it and say, wow, we've got this subscription to whatever, Amazon Prime or whatever, and we don't need it or we don't use it, like, that's just free money you can get back. You know how much harder it is to make $1,000 a month than it is to eliminate? Well, maybe that's a little bit much. Maybe a couple $100 a month than it is to.
Right.
So it's a good point, is what I'm saying. So on the increasing of the income side, you said that there were some small things that you were able to do. Was that at work? Was it through some side hustles? How were you able to do that?
So we are both salary employees, so we couldn't do that. But I would tutor. During the summer, I would tutor students that needed help. I charged $50 an hour, which is a little steep, but I mean, I did a good job. And so I was confident in my abilities. My husband is a band director, and he actually has a bus driver's license. And so he would drive the buses for football games and things like that. And he would make about $100 extra per weekend. So that money during those busy seasons was specifically set aside for extra debt payments. I've taught summer school. He's taught summer school. I dabbled in some photography on the side back several years ago. So just kind of taking our skills and our talents that are come naturally to us and then saying, okay, how can I take this and turn it around and help someone else, but then also receive an income or payment for it?
I think that is great. That is so cool. You guys found all these little things that already almost fit into your either lifestyle or your skill set. And you found a way to make money from them. That is a major takeaway from this conversation. Thank you for sharing that. So
no problem.
Let's talk about how it started to pay down then. So you made enough money to cover the daycare eventually, hopefully, right?
Yes.
And then what was the debts that you paid off first? What was your first debt that you paid off?
The first debt was like some smaller student loans, just that were some smaller student loans. Actually, one of the most exciting debts I paid off was a student loan that wasn't super big, but it was one that I had to send a check in every month. You know, a lot of them you pay them online. And I sent in a letter with my check with my last payment. And I said, "See you later, Frost Bank. I'm done with you." And I got a handwritten letter back that said, "Congratulations, Allison."
Oh,
And it was so cool. But a lot of them were smaller student loans, and then there was a car loan that was thrown in there, and then we were left, I think, whenever our last payment, it was like a $45,000 student loan that was just one huge massive loan that we had to pay off.
Wow. And then like that day when you guys were done with all this, did you guys celebrate? Tell me about that day.
Well, that's a really good question. My youngest son had just had to so our debt payoff, we thought we would be debt free about 5 to 6 months sooner than we were. My husband's transmission in his car went out, so we drained our savings to fix that. And then my youngest son needed an unexpected surgery. So everything got pushed back by about 5 months. And after the surgery happened, we took about 2 months, and we had like no money. We had barely any money in savings, and we were sitting on the sofa. And I said, what if we just take the last like $2,000 in our savings and just drain it down to $0? And we just paid off our debt. And my husband was like, well, we won't have any money in savings. And I was like, I know, but I'm so ready for this to happen. Like, please, can we do this? And he was like, let's do it. So we drained our savings, paid off our debt, took a picture to celebrate. We went out to ice cream, and then we realized we were dirt poor. We had like no money in savings. And then I think like a week later, we got hit with more unexpected hospital bills. Oh, it was awful. So for about 2 months after we were debt free, we got hit with all of these, we thought we were done with all of our medical bills. And we just kept getting hit with, this doctor who was in the surgery room. And then all these people kept billing us. And we felt like, did we make a mistake by draining our savings? But we were able to figure it out. We were able to cash flow it. By that time, we had the habits in place. But it was emotional because we were very excited. And then within days, we were like, oh my gosh, we are having more of these bills coming in. Did we do the right thing?
What an emotional roller coaster, man.
Yes.
The cool thing that I hear you talking about too is your husband. It's not just Allison, budget lady here. It's like your husband's not only along for the ride, supporting you, but he's doing the bus route, doing extra things. So this was a true partnership between you two, it sounds like.
It definitely was. And I think part of that is one thing, definitely a blessing in this, is that we don't know our marriage without this journey. I think that if we had spent 5 years being married and then we decided to tackle this journey, we would have had to shift our entire marriage. But we don't know our marriage without budgeting.